Welcome to What's Up, Bolts. I'm Fernando Ramirez. He is Dan and Daygo. Thank you guys so much for coming on and watching another episode with us. Obviously, short week this week. Chargers travel to Kansas City on Wednesday to take on the Kansas City Chiefs on Amazon Prime. The first chance we'll get to listen to Kirk Herbstreit and Al Michaels, the duo. I think they had some preseason action, but this is the regular season. Chargers handle the Raiders. The Chiefs beat down the Arizona Cardinals. Dan, thank you so much for another week of What's Up, Bolts. What are you thinking about this game?
You don't have to thank me for nothing. You already know your boy. All he needs is a little microphone, a little link to get a camera going, and your boy's amped up to talk about the son of Odin and the Los Angeles Chargers. It's going to be a good game this Thursday. The Blue Checkmark Brigade and that stooge, Humberto, I think are going to be disappointed, and their pom-poms are going to drop to the floor in shock along with Tony Romo. It's going to be a good game.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's going to – and Tony Romo is not going to be on the call. It will be Kirk Herbstreit and Al Michaels. So so it should be an interesting matchup. Obviously, like I said, 2 1-0 teams, Patrick Mahomes versus Justin Herbert. That's what a lot of people are going to be talking about. And Dan, we found a good guest this week. We got Joshua Brisco, who is he's one of my former colleagues at SI. He does a podcast, a radio show, and he has the Arrowhead Report, which is on SI.com. So he does it all over there, and we got him to come on and talk Chiefs football. So we'll get to that in a second. Dan, before we head and preview the Chiefs and the Chargers, I wanted to ask, I wanted you to break down something for me. I got a surprise for you, and I know you don't like surprises, but I think you'll like this one.
I love it.
Here is a video of Rashawn Slater versus Chandler Jones.
I want you to react on my prescription.
I want you to react to these videos. So are you ready? They're on the right side. Are you ready to go?
Yeah.
Watch this. There he goes. What's he doing right there?
What a stud. What a stud. You see how his body position is right, forces him out, and he starts washing him. Look at that, dude. But look at his feet. Seriously, just look at his feet. His feet never stop. Don't stop on contact. He washes them. I don't even know if Chandler Jones was on the – oh, look at him recover. I didn't like how much he gave up. But that's
what I was going to ask you. Dude. If you see in this video, he's able to recover. He loses footing, and then he kind of recovers right at the last second. Yeah. What does that say about a left tackle like him?
His footwork and his football IQ is off the charts. Like, seriously, look at him recovering. Anyone else would have been on their ass, and that would have been a sack, dude. Rashawn Slater's just a dog. There's no way to get around it, dude. I just love this guy. You know what? That's going to be the next jersey I go get if I find it somewhere.
Dan, watch
Dude's
this
just
one.
A stud.
Watch this one.
Washes him across, pancakes him. Says, get on the ground, little boy. You ain't going to touch my quarterback, dude. My gosh, dude. I just get so fired up watching this. I kid you not. If I had, if I could break him off with the line and, get my tackles together, this is the only person I'd be watching, dude. Because, the thing I like most about Rashawn Slater is that he was undersized coming out of the draft, if I remember correctly. I think Penei Sewell was the same year, and he was a lot bigger. And it's like having that smaller arm length, that smaller size sometimes is an advantage because it makes you practice more your leverage, your football IQ, your footwork. You know what I mean? You can't just rely on being a big brick wall that no one can move. If that makes sense. It really makes you hone in on your crafts and make sure you're always good to go. Look at that footwork, dude. Look at that. Just wish you would have kicked a little more.
There's a rumor that Matt Rule of the Carolina Panthers didn't want to draft him because of his short arms. So
that's stupid, dude. You know, that's so stupid for a few reasons.
You know, they got a good one in the cornerback that they selected.
Yeah. But like short arms, arm length and all that to me is I would rather not have them reach because sometimes these guys reach. And these edges, whenever they're like have high IQ and football IQ, all they do is knock their arms off. And it's like half of the time the feet go dead and he just gets around you anyway. The best analogy I could give offensive linemen when teaching it is you're a fetus fly trap. You let the defender come to you within like a certain range where you're comfortable striking, and you have that perfect little slight bend in the elbow like this. So if you're all the way out here, elbow straight, it's going to knock it off, and he's going to get around you real quick, right? There's no power. Here's where your bench press is and all your power and your muscle, right? So that's why I always say Venus flytrap, dude. Let them come to you. You initiate contact, and they're the ones who are going to react to it, right?
Yeah, so speaking about reaction, let's see what John Brisco has to tell us about. Dan, great segment. That's why I always like picking your brain on the offensive line. See what
dude, you get me going on hogs, dude. I'll go for 40 minutes. It doesn't matter. I love offensive
we can learn. So I appreciate you breaking that down for us. Now let's go and break down the Kansas City Chiefs. Folks, I'm so excited for our next guest. It is a short week, and I told him, hey, bro, can you do me a solid? Can you jump on with us? He said, I got you. I'm excited. Joshua Brisco. let me get this started because this is a long list. Joshua Brisco is the host of Sports Radio 810 in Kansas City. He is the editor-in-chief of Arrowhead Report for SI.com, and he's the host of the podcast Times Hours from The Athletic. Josh, thank you so much for joining us, and tell the people why it's called Time Hours, that podcast, because when you told me off camera, I was like, oh, wow, that's actually pretty interesting.
It's a real good play on words for people who've listened to a lot of Andy Reid press conferences, because at the end of every opening statement, he says, something about the injuries. We're looking forward to the challenge of playing the Chargers. They're a good football team. They're a well-coached football team. With that, time's yours. And so in the podcast, the time is ours. I co-host that with Nate Taylor and Seth Kaiser, and then I did the post game in the zone. A new experience for me, co-hosting in middays here in Kansas City on 810. So yeah, man, I've got like a nice cup of candy cane tea here, trying to keep these pipes nice and loosened up, because I've really been kind of coughing through it the last like 2 months. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting old, man. I don't know.
No, it's a training camp. Training camp gets it's training camp, then the season, then the playoffs, and obviously Kansas City goes deep into the playoffs usually. So it's just a long time. But Nate Taylor, a good friend of the show as well. He's jumped on with us before. So that's awesome. So let's get it going. I mean, honestly, I thought Kansas City was going to get challenged a lot more on Sunday. They beat down the Arizona Cardinals 44-21. Josh, can you tell us like what went right and what did you see from Kansas City?
Everything went right. I mean, like both sides of the ball, even in special teams, we got the fun story of like, oh God, is Harrison Butker's ankle broken? Well, it doesn't matter right now because Justin Reed is going to kick. And then Butker comes back and just swings a sledgehammer and kicks a 54-yarder with like no step through. I mean, just even the special teams worked out when it wasn't supposed to today or on Sunday. So, I mean, it is just a ridiculous game to look back at. Patrick Mahomes was nearly perfect. The actual execution across the offense was pretty much flawless. The game planning was clearly incredible because of the amount of times you just found dudes in space. Right before the show, I was looking at a clip of one of Clyde Edwards-Hilaire's receiving touchdowns. One of them was an underhanded toss. The other one, his man defender was trying to come across the formation and fully got checked by one of his teammates. And so Clyde's got enough space that I could have turned around and caught it. I might not have, but I could have been there in position, right? And that's just kind of how it all went, like wire to wire. The offense looked great. The defense was no concern whatsoever, which is crazy because I'm sure we'll talk about all the changes that the Chiefs have gone through. But for an offseason that's been about like, oh God, how is this going to work together? What is this new version of the Chiefs going to look like? The Cardinals were banged up. Hopkins is suspended. They were not the best versions of themselves, but the Chiefs took advantage of every one of those weaknesses from Arizona, and it showed to the tune of not a double nickel, I guess, but a double four. I don't know. Double quad. Yeah. I'm not sure. I can't. There's not a fun unit of force.
No, and I mean Tyreek Hill also was responsible for a lot of the stuff that a lot of the questions that people had, because Tyreek was one of the ones coming out saying, "Oh, well, Tua throws me a nicer ball. Well, Tua does this, Tua does that." Can you get a sense if maybe, I mean, is there some angry birds or angry Chief heads out there that, I mean, players wise, coaches wise, that might be a little bit ticked off with Tyreek Hill after everything that happened?
I will say with a decent amount of confidence, and this isn't like even like behind the scenes. This is just stuff that's happened at the podium. Decent amount of confidence. They're tired of being asked about Tyreek Hill, and that came a long time ago, right around the crux of Tyreek Hill's podcast starting, which is now unfortunately kind of taking a sabbatical so he can focus on football. He said, which is tough. So I don't know what anybody's going to find a podcast about football at this point without Tyreek being the one that's making it himself. But yeah, like around that, Andy Reid kind of bristled at a question about some of the stuff Tyreek was saying in the show. I don't think there's any personal animosity there. I really don't. I think that Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill will probably all pose at the Pro Bowl together this year. I imagine, well, the Chiefs might, hopefully for the Chiefs, they won't be there. But if they are, then I bet they would all get along just fine. But it created a very strange sort of dichotomy this offseason where I don't blame Tyreek Hill for wanting to gas up his new quarterback, but everyone in Kansas City is like, hey, man, are you sure you want to be telling people that Patrick Mahomes wasn't good for you? And that has created sort of a weird tension.
So they play this year, don't they?
No, the Chiefs.
It's Chargers and Dolphins.
Yeah, that's a spot. That's a division.
I wanted to see Patrick Mahomes maybe throw the game-winning pass and then go like come over to the sideline and just go like this to Tyreek Hill and be like, hey, because
like a sniper side or like a bow and arrow kind of thing. Yeah,
because the last time the Chargers saw Patrick Mahomes, that's what happened. He threw that game-winning pass to Travis Kelce on Thursday Night Football, and he turned to the Chargers bench and he said, I own this. I'm not going to continue what he said, but he basically said that. Man, to me, I think right now this is the best rivalry in football. I love Patrick Mahomes versus Justin Herbert. You got the quiet Herbert against the I guess because Patrick Mahomes is a little bit more talkative, he is a little bit louder, but I just feel like both of these guys are so talented. It's like hey, I did this. Well, I can do this. Well, I can do that. Man, this is one of my favorite rivalries right now in football.
It's my favorite. I mean, the only other even like question for me personally, based in Kansas City, is Chiefs Bills, because that is a rivalry that has grown outside of the division, right? But in terms of two teams that are going to play each other twice a year, at least 2 times a year for the next decade, I truly, and this is going to sound corny because I don't usually get quite this cornball, but I feel privileged to watch Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert and to know that that's going to be a biannual thing. Yeah. I hate when, and this has been another big offseason story, I hate when teams with great quarterbacks get self-conscious or get defensive about other teams also having great quarterbacks and then like media loving them because they're the newer thing. That's been Justin Herbert. Like I think Herbert probably got more love this offseason from the media, which is not really, it's not one conglomerate, but in aggregate, right? People I respect, not just your random talking heads, but people who do really good work. Herbert's gotten the majority of the quarterback discussions. Russell Wilson might be second in the AFC West, right? For Mahomes, it's been, well, how's he going to handle this, et cetera. I don't take any of that personally. I don't think Patrick Mahomes does either. I love the rivalry that we're going to have between these two dudes for a long time. And I hope that Chiefs fans and Chargers fans both end up at a point where they can look across the field and see the dude sitting on the sideline, waiting with his helmet on, waiting to get back out there, and feel how good that is, where we didn't even get Brady and Manning in the same division, right? And this rivalry is going to be different. And God bless both of us if it's Brady Manning. You and I will have a lot to talk about for a very long time.
Exactly.
But you got to appreciate it. It's so much fun.
No, and it really is. So obviously, I mean, we're going behind enemy lines. I want to pick your brain on this. Why? So obviously, I think I saw Patrick threw to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different receivers, almost the same as Justin Herbert did as well. So is that basically what Andy Reid's going to basically, that's what he's calling, is spread the ball around, try and get other guys the ball? Because I mean, obviously Travis Kelce was the big time player, but I mean, to be completely honest, I feel like Derwin James is the best one that matches up against Travis Kelce. So is that kind of what their plan you think is going to be on Thursday? Try and spread the ball around and try and run the football?
It's a great question because the Derwin James Travis Kelce matchup is another thing that like you got to start looking forward to as soon as you remember that it exists. Because as soon as that game is on the horizon, that's one of them. It's Mahomes, Herbert, but really it's Kelce, Derwin James.
Oh my God, two talented beasts.
Yeah, incredible. Like really standouts in their own right at their positions that have other incredible players also doing it at a high level right now. So yeah, seeing who wins those matchups is going to be fascinating. That's number one. I think you're dead on. Outside of that, with all the wide receivers, I do think Juju Smith-Schuster is going to continue to be this team's number one wide receiver. That's where I was at before week one.
Where
I'm not a good dancer. You went
know who's
harder
good?
than I
Tucker.
did,
Tucker.
Oh, dude. Oh,
Tucker Franklin. I
I
remember a couple of years ago he did the whole Juju dance.
Yes.
And now that he's on the Kansas City Chiefs, I started laughing. I'm like, he foreshadowed it.
Yes, Tucker absolutely brought that into existence. If you need more TikTok dancing, you should have Tucker on again.
Now he's grading what's it called?
Seltzers. Oh yeah, he's doing seltzer rankings. He's still got the dance moves, man. Tucker's the best. But yeah, so you get your old Corvette ride in Juju Smith-Schuster. I think he's kind of the number one guy. But God, I mean, you know how much less that drop off is between here and last year, where the Chiefs had a number one receiver and then some like number 3 and number 4 types of receivers. When McCole Hardman really can be your change of pace sort of target as a speedy threat. His touchdown against the Cardinals is an example of how his speed can create scores out of nowhere. But Juju and Marquez Valdes-Scantling in particular, those are the guys that I think Mahomes is going to look to the most from the wide receivers. In addition to Hardman, Sky Moore still working in as a rookie, obviously. The group is so much deeper that and it really incredible talents across the board there. Like, but none of them are Tyreek Hill, obviously.
Yeah.
But what I think it's going to be isn't even just like spreading the ball around for the sake of spreading the ball around. I think it's going to be realizing that you have 3 or 4 different guys who may or may not have the advantage in their matchup at any given point. And so it should be easier to find the matchup you like, the first read, and the entire unit as a whole can at any point pop up in a busted play where Mahomes is trying to find something downfield, and the offense is going to be more multiple because of that, I think.
Let's talk about the offensive line. Both Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, clean. Their jerseys were clean over the weekend. Neither of them sacked. So, I mean, can you talk a little bit about the Kansas City's offensive line? I feel like they really have improved. And last year they were good, but I feel like maybe this year they might have taken the next step.
Yeah, so here's the funny thing that I think you're right about, but I don't think most people have said anything like that until I've tried to push some of this a little bit this last couple of days, or today, I guess.
Yeah.
You have basically the same left to right as last year. Orlando Brown Jr., Joe Thuney, Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, who left with an injury. Could be him or Nick Allegretti. Allegretti, an excellent 6th offensive lineman to have. He'll be fine. And then Andrew Wiley at right tackle. The one that's the guy that more people would be less excited about, perhaps, but I think he is largely underrated because it wasn't exciting when they brought him in. He just got here and was good whenever he was forced to play.
So both the Chargers and the Chiefs have problems. That the right tackle is basically their outlier.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the other guys I just mentioned were like acquired either expensively, either in money or draft capital. And then Trey Smith was a steal because teams were concerned about like a blood clot issue at the draft. It's all been cleared up. So, and I don't want to say Wiley is a problem. He's just 5th of 5 there, right? But it's basically the same unit as last year. Last year was when they made the huge overhaul. But the guard, Trey Smith, and center, Creed Humphrey, were rookies last year. Now they're in year 2. More importantly, the entire unit now has an entire season under their belt. They looked really good to me on Sunday. Particularly, Mahomes, like you said, was never sacked. He did move some. And often, though, I would see him kind of drift to his left, which to me speaks to a confidence in Orlando Brown Jr., and he would drift left, and then he can throw the ball wherever he wants because he's Patrick bleeping Mahomes. And I guess it doesn't matter. You can drift left and throw right because you're an alien, whatever. But seeing the confidence there from a pass pro perspective, huge and only going to continue to improve, I think. In the running game, which I haven't really mentioned, they were also stupendous. We can dig in more on that if you want, but it really maybe the best performance I've seen from the Chiefs offensive line in quite a while. Obviously, Chandler Jones is in Vegas now, and J.J. Watt wasn't playing. The Cardinals were shorthanded. That doesn't take anything away from the performance of the O-line, though.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I'm sure that Rams fans are a little pissed off with Patrick Mahomes because ever since Patrick Mahomes started doing no-look passes, Matthew Stafford tried them, and he threw a pick last Thursday trying one of them. So, and it's funny because my co-host is my brother, and my brother's like, there we go. He's like, there we go with the BS again. He's like, Matthew Stafford, you're not Patrick Mahomes. You're good, but you're not that good. So it's definitely funny to see that. But talk to me about the Chiefs defense. I mean, I remember last year, and it happens every single year. We want Spags out. He's not our defensive. See, you know what's funny? I actually do look a lot into the Chiefs divisional opponent. I look through Chiefs Twitter, and I see a lot of fans get mad at Steve Spagnuolo and everything. And every year, Steve and the defense turn it around at one point. But just can you talk about the defense and kind of they've gotten some new players. They have that pass rusher from Purdue, I believe.
Yeah.
Trent McDuffie.
George Karlaftis, Trent McDuffie, they drafted first. Yeah. So here's the thing on here's the thing on Spags. So the reason that every fan base, wants to always fire their defensive coordinator is because it's easier to fire your defensive coordinator than it is to replace your entire defense, right?
Yeah.
So that's what people do. Well, here's what the Chiefs did. Chiefs pretty much replaced their whole defense. That is kind of what happened.
They really did.
They really did. Tyrann Mathieu gone, Dan Sorensen gone, Justin Reed, free agent from the Texans, kicker extraordinaire, brought him in. He's back there with Juan Thornhill, who you guys will know from years of going up against the Chiefs. Yeah. He seems fully healthy now from an ACL injury at the very end of his rookie season. Finally, now in year 4, I legit think he's healthy for the first time. At corner, Charvarius Ward leaves in free agency, and he's a Niner now. So they go up and they trade up for Trent McDuffie. Another year of L'Jarius Sneed, but McDuffie's the big addition there. At linebacker, they draft Leo Chanel, who had played a few snaps in the week 1 game against the Cardinals.
I like those two linebackers. One was Nick Bolton.
Nick Bolton and Willie Gay have been very encouraging. Yeah. Bolton's entering year 2. Anthony Hitchens is gone. He was the Mike linebacker for the Super Bowl run all the way through last year. He just lost his step. He's not even on a roster right now. Wow. That's just sort of where he was at by the end of that contract. But yeah, so your linebackers there get overhauled, and then the pass rush. The pass rush is both my biggest concern and also probably the biggest shift from last year. Chris Jones is playing inside again where he should be. George Karlaftis is, I think it was 30th overall that they ended up getting him out of Purdue from Greece, played water polo, and then got to Purdue and started playing football. Dude is relentless.
Opa!
It is. I bet his next sack celebration will maybe have an Opa in it. I like that.
There you go.
His preseason sack celebrations were a topic of conversation because they weren't very impressive. But he was. He really was. Like the whole this dude's just a walking motor. This dude's a sponge. That stuff you've been in enough press conferences and on all this enough to know. A lot of times that's just how you say somebody's white and works hard. Like that is basically, he's got such a motor. He's a real gym rat.
Exactly.
Well, for Karlaftis, it's true. You can see it on the field. He's relentless on the field. Like his motor is constantly running and just constantly always trying to make something happen. So he's a huge part of this. Frank Clark lost some weight, restructured his contract. I was lukewarm going into that. Never really. He's had some illness issues throughout his entire career. He cut like a bunch of junk food and liquor out of his diet this offseason, and he came back a lot in better shape. I know we could all do that. How good would we all feel? But so if it works out with him, that's great. But I'm afraid to bet on it. And then Carlos Dunlap, similarly, he was a late addition. Going into year I think 13 in the NFL. He had a sack in week 1, made some impacts. But I am pretty nervous about that edge group and the pass rushers there. All of that is I realize I've been talking for so long now. but all of that is to say they overhauled this defense in at least one position at every single level this offseason, and even more so in the year and 2 prior. And then against the Cardinals, they did not look like a defense that had a bunch of new pieces. They looked like a defense who had been working together and playing together for a season or 2. And that was shocking to me. I was totally prepared to see the growing pains from the Chiefs defensively, specifically from a bunch of those rookies. They just didn't happen. Trent McDuffie left with a hamstring injury and didn't return. So if he's not playing on Thursday, that's a huge loss. Maybe not the size of a loss of Keenan Allen, but I would argue that those two might end up having a relatively similar impact at relatively opposite positions.
Yeah. So obviously, I only got 2 more questions for you, maybe a third.
I'll speed it up.
No, you're good. You're good. With talk about the loss of Tyrann Mathieu. To me, that was very surprising. I told my co-host of COMPAS on the Beat, Gilbert Manzano, if he wanted to play, and I'm a WWE nerd. I thought he was good. I don't know if you watch WWE or not, but like I thought the ultimate heel move for Tyrann would have been, hey, you know what? I'm going to go sign with the Chargers. Me and Derwin are going to lead this together. I thought that would have been like him just hit Patrick Mahomes in the back with a steel chair, knock him over. Andy Reid turns around, looks at him, and goes, "What are you doing?" But just talk about the loss of Tyrann Mathieu and has it? I mean, so far, obviously in week 1 it did work, but moving forward, do you feel like it could work without the Honey Badger back there?
I do. This ended up in me and Tyrann Mathieu having a nice little Twitter conversation at some point last year. So maybe I'm biased. But he didn't have the juice last year that he had even just the year prior. And he even talked after the season. I give him credit for this. This was long after our public conversation. But he even admitted hey, his heart wasn't in it fully because he knew going into the season, when they did not get his contract done, he felt like he knew that was not going to happen. So he knew that he was in his last year in Kansas City, as he has continually bounced around in a way that is very strange for a player as excellent as he has been. He was a step slower. He did have an injury issue that sort of spawned on a couple of things that maybe made him look like he was even more slow than he was. Dealing with being banged up. I guess from a leadership standpoint, you would say certainly losing him, there's a vacuum, but I have been really impressed with Justin Reid as a player from the leadership standpoint, from the, hey, I'll get up here in front of the media and I will speak for the defense today. He has been excellent in that regard. So I don't want to in any way undercut what Tyrann Mathieu meant to Kansas City while he was here. But as is sort of the cruel fact of how the NFL works sometimes, last year, I think, was his worst season since getting healthy from his knee issues, years back. He was really, really important for this defense while he was here. But I think that having Justin Reid will at least keep the defense at the same level right now and will definitely be a good thing in year 2 and year 3 of that contract.
Give me you have a crystal ball right in front of you. Give me the movie title of the Kansas City Chiefs 2022 season.
Okay.
I can tell you a good one.
No Hill to Die On.
Ooh.
No Tyreek Hill.
Okay.
And they make a deep playoff run so they don't die at all. No Hill to Die On is my movie title. Good question.
I like that one. All right. Yeah, no, that's a really good one. I love that.
Tapped into something for me. I appreciate that.
Hey, no, that really, and I feel like you may have already known the question because that came really fast out of your mouth. So I like that.
I promise I didn't. I just you asked a great question and there you go. You found something already loaded in my brain, I
guess. Prediction for Thursday.
I'm going to take the Chiefs narrowly. I will say this. So Kansas just legalized sports betting. So I had a really fun first week of the NFL season. I felt great about Chiefs Cardinals. I am not going nearly as hard on Chiefs Chargers. That 3.5 feels about right. I would not want to take the cost of hitting the money line if we're talking, again, I've got real gambling brain right now. But I would lean towards something like a 31-27, which I guess would be right there with the Chiefs covering. But, in a way that if one ball gets picked up off the ground and goes the other direction, the game changes right there. I expect and hope, honestly, that this is a slugfest. I think the Chiefs edge it out because of how good they looked against Arizona, how much I'm kind of buying into the overhaul they've had. But far be it from me to tell you that's a lock. I can't wait to watch this game.
No, this game to me is going to be a slugfest. So I definitely believe in that. These games always come down to the end. It wouldn't be a Chargers Chiefs if it didn't come down to the end. So Correct. Let me get that voice ready again. Joshua Brisco, thank you so much for joining us. Remember, Sports Radio 810 in Kansas City, editor of Arrowhead Report for SI and Times Hours for the podcast for The Athletic. Josh, thank you so much for joining us. Tell the great folks where they can find your great work on Twitter.
You can follow me on any social, specifically on Twitter at JB Brisco. That's JB Brisco. There's no E at the end. If people get that wrong sometimes, you didn't because you're an upstanding gentleman, but some people do. And I never doubted you for a second.
We treat our guests with respect here on COMPAS. Thank you so much, Josh, for joining us, and have fun on Thursday. And we look forward to touching base with you down the line. Thank you so much.
I can't wait, man. Let's do it.
Dan, obviously great stuff from Joshua Brisco. We're so thankful that he jumped on with us. I said a man of many titles, many talents, but he took the time to jump on with us and talk a little Chiefs. He said, like he said, he thinks that the offense is going to go through obviously Patrick Mahomes, and they could sprinkle in some run and some different kind of running backs. So it's going to be interesting to see. But first, I want to start it off with you with the Chargers offense versus the Chiefs defense. Obviously, Josh said that the Chiefs defense is much improved. Trent McDuffie, guy that I think the Chargers were eyeing, a cornerback out of the University of Washington, he might not go. He has a hamstring injury and he might not play. So Josh said that kind of would be a downer for the Chiefs, especially because he's played so well. But Dan, they kind of revamped their defense a little bit. They went out and got some pieces. What do you think the Chargers need to do on offense to attack the Chiefs defense? And let's just say Keenan Allen's not playing, because obviously he's going to be a big question mark leading up into the game. But what do you think the Chargers offense needs to do against the Chiefs defense?
I think the most important thing, number one, you got to finish, dude. Like, the game should have been put away last week, in the third quarter. Should have been put away. Like, we should have had Chase Daniel to start off the fourth and everything else. So you need to keep your pedal on the metal. That's going to be number one. Number two, I'd like to see him be more efficient. I want to see him get 3-yard gains, go on a 5, 6, 7, 8 minute drive. You know what I mean? I want them to be efficient and control the clock and keep Patrick Mahomes on the sideline. I think that's always the best weapon to have, keeping him on the sideline, having him be cold, coming out and everything else, not letting him get in rhythm because he's not having enough time with the ball and everything else. I want to see him be efficient. I want to be done with these lateral runs, dude. Get between the tackles, get physical. Let's go. North and south, baby. Let's go.
I agree with you. They have to have some long drives. That's what's going to have to happen this week against Kansas City. That's kind of what they did last week in week 2, is they kind of held the ball. They ran the football. They ran it efficiently. I think that you're going to have a good mixture of the running backs this week. But I'd like to see Joshua Kelly get a couple more touches. I thought Josh kind of was the explosive one out of the running backs this week. And I felt like at the end it was not a mistake, but I didn't think Sonny Michel should have been the one handling the ball. I think Josh more carries, but I like to see Joshua Kelly, see what he could do this week, see if he gets a little bit more carries. But I think on offense, I think Mike Williams is going to be key this week, because Mike Williams always does well against Kansas City. He likes playing against Kansas City. He always puts up big numbers against Kansas City. So it's going to be interesting if McDuffie can't go. I wonder who they're going to try and put on Mike Williams, because that'll be interesting, because the Raiders took him away. He only had 2 catches for 11 yards. They double-teamed him. They said, hey, let everybody else beat us. That's where I'm going to be interested to see Justin Herbert. If Keenan Allen doesn't go, I want to see if Justin Herbert can beat the Chiefs. If they take away Mike Williams, can he beat him with Gerald Everett, with Austin Eckler, with all these other guys, with Jalen Guyton and all these other guys? Can he beat them with and them take away Mike Williams? So that's what I'm going to be interested in. Chargers defense against the Chiefs offense. Dan, this is the one I'm really waiting for. JC Jackson, well, he'll be a question mark heading into the game as well. But I think what we saw over the weekend on Sunday from the Chargers defense is all the guys that they picked up: Bryce Callahan, Khalil Mack, Austin Johnson, Sebastian Joseph Day. They're all guys that are going to help, and they're going to help this team. I was very impressed with all the additions that they made and the way they all played. But what does the Chargers defense need to do against the Chiefs offense to stop them?
Oh, 100%. You gotta control the line of scrimmage, right? You can already bet that Andy Reid scheming things up. Number one, misdirection. You already saw they did that stupid where Mahomes will take the snap, take 2 steps to the right, pretend it's like a rollout, and then he'll shovel it back to like a guy essentially running like a counter play or some type thing. You know what I mean? That little pitch under where he's behind the line of scrimmage or behind the offensive lineman. You got to control your gaps, dude, 100%. You got to be physical up front, which I think they are going to be a lot more physical up front. Some of that stuff isn't going to fly like it used to. The other thing you got to do is be prepared for those quick passes, dude, or those misdirections and everything else. You got to be disciplined. You got to, be careful when you're looking in the backfield, dude. I'm sure they're going to try and do some razzle-dazzle like Andy Reid always likes to. They just need to play discipline, be physical up front, and I think they're going to control the game. Because I think, seriously, like you've said in the offseason, we improved at every level of the defense, dude. Like, it is not the same. Like, last year with the type of wet noodle defense we had, we pushed them to the brink of collapse and the limit, and that was with Tyreek Hill. Now with no Tyreek Hill, a revamped defense, I'm excited, dude. I like the Chargers' chances a lot.
Obviously the Chiefs, they put up or Patrick Mahomes threw for 5 touchdowns. They're trying to show that Tyreek Hill's wrong, that everybody else is wrong, that Patrick Mahomes is still in it. He's still the best, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Obviously, Josh Allen and Justin Herbert will have something to say about that, just like we talked about on COMPAS on the beat. But definitely, I think what the Chargers need to do is keep everything in front of them. Don't let anybody go crazy. Don't let anybody try and beat you. I know that obviously their home run hitter is gone in Tyreek Hill, but you still want to keep everything in front of you. That's kind of what they did with the Raiders. They kept everything in front of them. Even Devontae Adams didn't have he had one 40-yard gain where he turned around as Sunday Samuel Jr. But other than that, I felt like it was a pretty good. They kept everything in front of them. No big gains other than that one. So I think that's what they need to do with Kansas City. I think Kansas City is going to try and be patient this week. I think they're going to try and, like you said right now, about controlling the clock and trying to do all that. I think that's what Kansas City is going to come out with. I think they're going to try and be the ones that control the clock, try and have long drives, try and exhaust the Chargers defense. Now it's going to be on Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack to get after Patrick Mahomes and make him feel uncomfortable. But one of the things that I think is going to be key this weekend, they need to wrap up. They need to be, if you touch Mahomes, you have to be able to bring him down. You can't let him get away, because when he gets away, that's when bad things happen for the opposing defense and good things happen for the Chiefs. So I think that that's what they're going to need to focus on. They need to focus on wrapping him up and bringing him to the ground, because if they can sack him the same amount of times that they sacked Derek Carr, it's going to be a different game for the Chargers. Dan, I want to ask you, give me a fantasy player to watch.
Fantasy player to watch? I'm going to go with
you can go either team.
Let's see. Oh, either team? All right. Dang. I'll do this. No, not Juju Tic-Tac Schuster. Fantasy player to avoid, and I have him on my team, but I'd gladly take zeros for this. I would avoid Travis Kelce at all costs, because when Derwin James is on the field, we've known the stats. You've seen it on COMPAS on the beat. I brought out the shield and everything, dude, and I'll gladly repeat those things when he's on the field. So, I would avoid Travis Kelce at all costs. I will gladly take zeros if it helps this program go 2-0. Travis Kelce's the one I wouldn't touch. He usually doesn't play as well against Derwin James.
You mean 2-0 the Chargers, you mean that program, not this one.
Hey, I could still win, even if Kelce gives me zeros. Maybe my other guys will go off. Who knows, to pick up the pace.
Dan, I'm going to have to go with Mike Williams. I think that he usually has a strong game against Kansas City. I know what I said about maybe him being double teamed and everything, but I think Mike will find a way to get open and try and do better against Kansas City. Some guys in the press, or some people in the press box, I heard them go, "Where's Mike Williams? Where's Mike Williams?" on Sunday. And I'm like, dude, the Raiders are doing a good job of keeping him contained. They're double teaming him. They're scheming around him. I think Kansas City, I think he'll go off in Kansas City. I think he'll have a big game, and he'll have a bounce back game against the Chiefs. Cause I mean, he definitely, I think he definitely is going to have a good game, and he'll have a bounce back one this weekend. Dan, give me your X Factor.
X Factor. My X Factor let me down last week, so I almost want to pick him again, because everything's going to be, you know what? Can I pick the same one, or is it got to be different? I'm going to go with Joe Lombardi again. X Factor. Does he learn from his mistakes last week? Because I think you sent the tweet, or someone said the tweet in the chat, that he admits he went a little more conservative than he would have liked, or looking back on the tape, he went a little too conservative. And it's like, dude, you need to, elevate the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's moments in football games where hey, this is a perfect opportunity to take over. It's takeover time, dude. Like, you have a perfect opportunity, turnovers, go score, put the game out of reach. Let's get the backups in there. Let's get them some reps. Let's get them on tape so other people can get them if we cut them or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, that's the mindset you have to have. Like, there's no such thing as, having a lead going into the third quarter. Like, it's 0-0, dude. You got to keep pounding them and take essentially their soul and their spirit out of the game, dude. You can't do it. I need them to finish a game this week.
All right, Dan. You know what? It's gonna be you're gonna be like, oh, you went with a big time player. I'm gonna do it. I think Derwin James is gonna be the X factor. I think if he can get to Mahomes a couple of times, and obviously try and take out Travis Kelce, I think the Chargers are gonna have a good chance to win the game on Thursday. Sorry, and but I think Derwin James is gonna be my X factor. I think he's gonna be he's gonna need to step up and obviously try and take Travis Kelce out of the game. That's going to be a very interesting matchup to watch. So I'm going to go with that. Dan, it's time. Prediction time.
This is a joke. Put the pom-poms down. Chargers are winning this game. They're coming out of Kansas City. Mike loves to play there. We love to play there. I think we've won maybe the past 2 seasons there. I'm going with the Chargers, dude.
I'm gonna disappoint you. I'm gonna go Kansas City.
You drop those damn pom-poms.
I think it's Kansas City's at home. I think that these guys are gonna split. One wins at home, the other one's gonna win at home. So I think I'm gonna go. I'm gonna say that Kansas City beats the Chargers, and they start off 2-0. The Chargers start off 1-1, and then obviously the rest of the division. But I really do think. In all honesty, I really do think this is going to be a 2-horse race. I think it's going to be Chargers and Chiefs for who wins the division. But I think the Chiefs get the better of the Chargers this week just because that Keenan Allen and J.C. Jackson, there's the 2 guys that you could potentially miss. If you don't have either one or if both of them miss, then it's going to be even harder to win this game. So I'm going to go Chiefs on this one. I'll say Kansas City 28. No, I'll say Kansas City 34, Chargers 31.
Field goal.
So, yeah, field goal separates them. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. And I'm it hurts me to go against my brother, but it
doesn't bother me. I can't wait to be right next week and tell you. You know what's the worst part? Seriously, though? One of the coaches on the coaching staff is a Chiefs fan, so we've already started the trash talk.
Oh, that's gonna be interesting. That's gonna be an interesting. And by Friday you'll know who won, so obviously that'll be a good one.
Yeah.
But again, thank you guys so much for joining. What's up, Bolts? Thank you so much for Joshua Brisco for joining us and breaking down this game. Thank you so much, Dan, for doing your thing and obviously giving us some. I like breaking down the offensive line when Dan and Daygo, you learn a lot about it. So
I love talking about
Slater versus Chandler Jones. And thank you guys so much for checking us out. Don't forget, short week, but Dan and Daygo and I will be back on Thursday after the game. We may go live on YouTube and take your guys' questions, whatever you guys want to talk about. Again, check out COMPAS on the Beat. We have a good episode this week. A lot of fun between us. The 4 of us jump in and talk a lot about some of the stuff going on. We have House of Horns with Vic the producer, and Gilbert. They're going to be breaking down the Falcons versus the Rams game. Man, that game is looking more and more interesting now that I see it. I think that game might be a little closer, Dan, than what people
I hope
think.
So.
The way Marcus Mariota played and the way that the Rams haven't been able to get jump started, I think that's going to be interesting. And then obviously, Combat Compas, we will be doing a preview episode for the trilogy between Saul Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin, Triple G. We will be doing a whole episode on that, so be on the lookout for that. We have so much great stuff happening right now. Compas on the Beat. We appreciate for rocking your episode of What's Up, Bolts. Thank you guys so much for rocking. Again, we'll see you guys Thursday after Chargers versus Chiefs. Thank you guys. We're out.